You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode up in Tulsa today. Talk about a lot of things. Haven't been to Tulsa in a while, so glad to come up here and share some of Tulsa's stories. Dr. Robert Zoellner is on the podcast today to tell you all about, I guess, where he started, what he does, all the other multiple businesses that he's in. But Dr. Zoellner, thanks so much for welcoming me into the house. Beautiful home office you have. I've been looking around here. You've got some heads mounted on the wall. We've just been talking about castles and traveling Europe. We got the fish tank behind us, which some of you may hear in the podcast. There's a lot of stories. I'm sure we won't get to everything today because of the friends that we have, mutual friends of, have spoken about you. They said that you do a lot of things. So we'll get to a little bit of that. But I guess when people ask you, I guess, who you are, what do you do? What's your usual response?
I tell them I'm an entrepreneur trapped in an optometrist body. I grew up here in Tulsa, large family, not a lot of money. Started working when I was 13. I used to work at a Mexican restaurant. My first job was a daytime dishwasher. I'd get on my skateboard and ride up there in the summertime. And I prided myself in being a good dishwasher. And then I remember I made $1.80 an hour. And my manager called me into his office and said, "Robert, you're doing so good. I'm going to give you a 10-cent raise." I was so happy. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Thank you." I thanked him so much. He goes, Okay. I'll give you $2 and I'll get out of my office. And then I went to a busboy. So anyway, you start there, and I've just been working all my life. And like they say, the harder I work, the luckier I get, So, but that's kind of led to me being an entrepreneur, as I said, has led to me to, doing a lot of different things. And I'm sure we're going to try to get to some of those on the podcast today. So
no doubt. So starting out then, you're born and raised in Tulsa. You said big family as well?
Yeah, I wasn't born here, but I was raised here. Okay. We moved here when I was 3 or 4, somewhere in there. But I was actually born in Dallas, and then we kind of moved up to I-44 and ended up here. Right. Big family. I'm the second of 7, 6 boys and 1 girl. Mm-hmm. And most of us are still in Tulsa. Yeah. One's in California, one's in New York, but there's 5 boys that are here in Tulsa.
Okay. So where's the family name come from? The heritage of the family name?
Zoellner is a German name, and it actually, if you like a lot of names, old Europe names, that actually designated what you did. Right. And I looked it up, and a Zoellner, as I call them, of course we pronounce it Zoellner, like the O's not there, was actually a tax collector outside of cities. And so you bring in your goods to sell in the city, and they'd look through your cart, your buggy, and they would tax you as you went in. So I come from a long line of tax collectors, I guess you could say. So
some people might say that not the very popular people, right? But back in the day, people collected taxes.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we've changed that narrative a little bit, hopefully.
100%, no doubt. So growing up then, obviously you go from washing dishes and in a little bit more money. Were you an entrepreneur at heart from a young age? Absolutely.
Yeah, I got to tell a story on myself. There was the time when Jerry Lewis would do these telethons. Mm-hmm. And the telethons were all about raising money for multiple dystrophy. Mm-hmm. And he would say, "Hey, all you young kids out there, we can send you ideas of how you can raise money and send to the Jerry Lewis telethon." Mm-hmm. And so we're listening, and he said, "And one of these ideas is you can do a little carnival at your house, and you can do X, Y, Z." And boy, that just went right to my head. I thought, So we did a carnival at our house. We didn't get their package from them, but we just set up little rides, wagon rides, and I have to admit we had an old rabbit hutch in the backyard. We were kind of animal kind of kind of guys. And I had a cat in there, and I would charge kids 10 cents to look at this wild cat. Can't make the story up. So this young boy from a couple of streets down, he's in my backyard and pays us 10 cents. And and I'm step up here and look at this wild cat, And the cat was just trying to get out of the cage. I mean, the cat wasn't wild, just someone's domesticated, cat. And so, it's about the kid trying to, just wants out. And the kid looks at it and goes, hey, wait a second, that looks a lot. Because that looks a lot like my cat. I just found a cat and put it in the cage.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it can't be. Step back. It's a wild cat. Anyway, when the fair was over, I let it out. It ran home, I'm sure. But we did that, and I have to admit that we felt like we were needy also, so we chose our purpose or our destiny as far instead of sending it to Jerry Lewis, we kept the proceeds. So anyway, so that entrepreneur spirit was there, from the get-go, and it was always whenever I would look at, it was kind of funny. Whenever I look at a commercial, I would think to myself, does that make me want to buy that, even though I may not be in the market for that? Try to take something good out of that. Sometimes a commercial is so bad, you look at it and you go, why did they do that? I mean, it almost makes me not want to call them. Did I have any sense of urgency to act on that commercial? Or whenever I'd see a billboard or anything, I was just always kind of a curious minded. I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there, if you're an entrepreneur, you better be curious. Because I think curiosity is one of the things that helps build your ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if we get stale, right, and we get stuck in our ways, or we get comfortable, it's the worst thing for an entrepreneur. Because other entrepreneurs thinking their minds are going and they're passing us.
Right.
I'm the same way. Exactly. Too many ideas to count, but it's trying to find the time to just do some of them and that you enjoy as well. So
absolutely, that's a big factor. You've got to enjoy it.
Definitely. So you all these entrepreneurial ideas are coming as a kid. Then where are you going to school? What do you like in school? Are you a big into education? Does family push education, or are you just like, no, I'm going to do my own thing? Yeah,
our family pushed education quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I was kind of a unique, and I loved drama. I was kind of a thespian growing up, and all the things being told, someone said, hey, you could do anything in this world and be guaranteed success. I might have been a stand-up comedian, or I might have been an actor of some kind, but that's a tough gig. I mean, there's a lot of great and funny people and really good actors that are waiting tables in New York and LA, and and I thought there's no way. So when I transitioned from high school, which I loved academics, and math was kind of my jam, but sciences and hard sciences, I thought I'm going to be, what's a profession I can go into that can almost guarantee some success? Right. And I never knew a broke doctor. I mean, that was kind of the guaranteed deal, if you were a doctor in my mind at that time. So I thought, okay, I'll be a doctor. And then the question went into, well, what kind of doctor? Mm-hmm. And I thought an optometrist is that perfect blend of, some business because you're selling glasses and contact lenses versus doctoring. You're actually seeing people. And then when I was young, I was myopic. I was nearsighted. Mm-hmm. And so when I was 10, I got my first pair of glasses. I remember the magic of that. It was just like, wow, there's leaves on trees. That's, wow, I can actually see that now. I mean, it was pretty dramatic. I thought, what a great thing. To spend your day having that all day long. Wow, I can see. Thank you. So I thought that's my jam. Yeah. So I went to Northeastern State University here, which has our optometry school in the state of Oklahoma, and got my undergraduate degree in mathematics and some binders and this and that, and then went through optometry school. And voila.
And then you came back to, were you living? Oh, so you're studying, you're living away, and then you come back to Tulsa and think, because you could have gone anywhere with an optometry, the schooling and the degree and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. I looked at a few places around the country. I kind of, everybody kind of thinks, the ocean, the ocean's pull, right? Yeah. So I looked at a few places on the coast, and then when it all boiled down to it, I thought, Tulsa's home. Mm-hmm. And Tulsa's a great city. It's a big little city or a little big city, however you want to look at it. Great place to raise a family. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that, according to Forbes, it's one of the best places for entrepreneurs to start a business. There's a lot of companies that actually do their restaurant testing here. Mm-hmm. They'll open up a restaurant in Tulsa, see how it does before they take it nationwide. And so Tulsa's a great spot for entrepreneurs.
Got you. So then, like you said, you found your passion, you found your journey, and you've always kind of wanted to be successful. And like I said, you never saw a broke doctor, which is fairly true, isn't it? I don't know anyone. Most of my golfing buddies that are doctors do very well for themselves, and they play a lot of golf too, which is kind of, they do well. So, but you're right. You've got to put yourself through that. What is it? 10, or what is it for an optometry school? I know it's 10 years for just general.
Well, it's 4 years of undergraduate and then 4 years of optometry.
So 8 years, yeah.
Or you could do the undergraduate, maybe, if you did some summers, maybe a little less, because you just really need the prerequisites to get in.
Gotcha.
So it's 4 years, and once you get out, you don't have to do any internships. I mean, you can do some, but 7 to 8 years, but 8 years is what I did.
So when you get your qualifications, do you think I'm going to open up my own business, or do you go and work for somebody?
At first I was working for I was going to buy somebody, and so I went in and we had a contract, and then I couldn't. I thought, oh, this will be easy.
Right.
So I put on my one tie that I owned. I had my Samsonite hard briefcase, and I put on the nicest clothes that I had, and I shredded into the bank. And how you doing? How you doing? Right? I need a loan. I'm a new doctor in town. What kind of a faux doctor?
Right,
I'm a new doctor.
I have doctor in front of my name.
Exactly.
Doctor,
yes, exactly. Oh, Dr. Zoellner, come on in here. Let's talk.
Yeah.
I need a loan. I'm going to buy this practice. Oh, okay. Well, how much money do you have? Oh, I don't have any money.
That's why
do you have any equity in anything?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I got run out. I mean, chased out. Security threw me out of so many banks, and finally, I was kind of like, okay, this isn't working out so well. Right. I might have to go get a job and earn some money and save some money, and then do that. So sometimes, what you want to do, you can't do, and you can't be discouraged by that.
Right.
You just have to figure out a path to get there. Right. So my path was, and like I tell a lot of young men and women that approach me and want to know about entrepreneurship and how to do something, sometimes you got to actually get a job, work for somebody, and then live below your means and save some money, get a war chest, and then you can go leverage that into what you know is ultimately going to be your next step.
And work that 5 to 9 p.m. job, right, on your own business, rather than the 8 to 5 you do making a living and getting insurance and everything else.
Maybe get 2 jobs. See, I was working 7 days a week when I got out. And someone said, why? And I go, because I can. This is great. I'm doing what I enjoy. People are paying me money. And so, I worked, because some of the mall locations were open on the weekends, and so I would work those, and then I'd work 7 days, as I said, 7 days a week. And I loved it. I did that probably the first 2 years out of school. I mean, my kids were young; they don't remember me not being there at that age, So I worked, and a lot of people are like, oh man, I know some of these guys that are like, I want to be successful like you. And I go, well, what are you doing right now? And they go, well, I'm working 4.5 days a week, my practice, and I'm off half a day on Friday.
Go to the lake,
no weekends.
Golf,
and sometimes I don't even work on Fridays. I just try to pack it all into Monday through Thursday. And I'm like, are you happy? And they go, yeah, I'm happy. And I go, well, then good. Then you keep doing that, because I don't want to tell you what makes you happy. I don't want to Aunt Connie them. I had an Aunt Connie that one day sat me aside and said, Robert, I had such big dreams for you. You were so smart. I just knew you were going to be a surgeon, or a brain surgeon, or a heart surgeon, or a real doctor, and really make a difference out there in the world.
A real doctor.
And you just became an optometrist, and I'm just so disappointed. And I said, well, Aunt Connie, we all are entitled to our own opinion. But I want you to know that I'm very happy with my decision. I'm very content, and that I help people see better, and I bring value to this industry, and I think I'm making a difference in the way that I'm enjoying making a difference, and I'm not ashamed of what I do, or I'm not disappointed that I didn't do something else, and I don't have emergency calls, and I don't have someone's life laying in my hands every day, all day, and the stress of that, and I'm very content and happy. So you do you, I'll do me. So anyway, I tell people, don't let Aunt Connie.
Great conversation.
Yeah, exactly. She just looked she just was kind of cocked her head. She was kind of wanting a little bit more of a, and I was just like, hey, no big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah, you have your opinion.
Yeah. Thank you for your input. I'm going to go back to my job now. Because I'm a real doctor. That real doctor comment must have got you. That's brilliant. So like you said, you're working hard. You have a young family. So go back to the family. How many kids do you have, and where do you meet your wife?
3. I met her at this is probably one of those things on the podcast that, is a little touchy. I divorced my first wife. Now I'm married to my second wife.
Okay.
So I felt kind of like the Brady Bunch. I had 3 kids. She has 3 kids.
Gotcha.
And now we're the Brady Bunch,
That makes sense.
And it's awesome. And, I was married for over 30 years and I wanted to raise my own kids. I raised my own kids. I didn't want someone else to raise my kids. Yeah. My oldest 2 are actually optometrists in my practice with me.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I've got 8 doctors that work with me.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are my kids. And the youngest one I do business with, we'll go talk about that here in a bit. So I work with all 3 of them. We're all tied together. We're all very close.
Yeah.
And then my new wife has 3 daughters and very close with them. The oldest is married and the 2 still live here at the house.
Yeah.
So it's great. But my first wife I met at a summer camp. We were camp counselors. And then my second wife, we actually met, a mutual friend put us together.
Okay.
So you 2 would be perfect for each other. And we were both going through lengthy divorces.
Sure.
And so we were about done with them and we met. And
timing's everything, right?
Timing's everything.
Yeah. That's special though, that you work with, you have that relationship with your kids, right? And you work with your kids and that's like, what you mentioned earlier, you went around much as they were super young because you were building, right? As an entrepreneur, you're business building, you're working as much as you can, getting as much experience while you're young. And and sacrificing those early years with and relationships and experiences with the kids to give you a leg up to have what you have now, which is really cool. And then to come fast forward, the kids clearly followed in your footsteps and wanted to become part of the business and enjoyed and saw the passion that you had and how much fun you were having. Because we all know people whose family businesses and the kids are kind of reluctant to get into the family business because they see that dad might not be around very often or he's always working. Or, the farming business is a key example, right? Because they don't stop. Right. But that's really cool for you to have your kids involved in the business and other, seems like other businesses as well. So that's special.
Yeah. So I started working for other and I worked for an optical chain company called iMart Express. And after a few years, I became the president of the company, moved down to Dallas, and my kids were young. And I traveled around the country opening up stores. I opened up 24 stores in about a year. Well, it was a year. And I was gone 2 or 3 days a week. And so when I came back to Tulsa to do my own thing, it was the only job I've ever been fired from. Interesting. That's a whole podcast in itself. So people, when I do lectures and talks, everybody, that's the first question. Why'd you get fired? Everybody wants to know the dirt, right? Yeah. I tell you, the short answer is this, is that, I was 30 years old. I come into this company and the guy that was the president had passed away at a young age. Sad story. Great guy, Rick Samuelson. R.I.P. And so I came in and I said, it's kind of like the guy that marries the lady that has the teenage kids. Yeah. And when you're in the living room, you're watching a movie, everybody's happy, everybody's laughing and giggling. And then when the mom leaves the room to go get the popcorn or the cold beverages, the kids all turn to the new dad, i.e. me, and go, we hate you. We're going to kill you. Don't touch our mother. Leave. And then when she walks back in the room,
happy families.
Oh, hey. Rainbows and sunshine and unicorns, So it was a little bit like that. That's the short version. But then when I came back to Tulsa and was doing my own thing, actually competing against him, which is a cool story. Yeah. But I decided, you know what? In Oklahoma, you can have 2 offices, and beyond that, you're treated like a commercial entity. In other words, you have a door for the optical and a door for the doctor. You've seen it, like lens crafters and whatnot. You've been around and seen that. And so mine's all opened up, and I have a benefit with that. I can package up my deals, and that's always been kind of one of my marketing tools that I've done. Yeah. So I didn't want to go beyond 2 stores. And so I thought to myself, well, the only way I can do more is travel around and do it. But here again, time with my kids. The year before, it kind of shown me that. So I kind of sacrificed that, and then I thought, well, I want to increase my tent. I want to do more. And then that's when I started. I thought, I'm really an entrepreneur. So that's when I started my journey of other businesses.
Yeah. Okay, so it's because of that 2-store limit.
That was part of it. That was part of it. Yeah. But then also too, Tulsa, the size that it is, really 2 stores, 2 offices is really enough for there. But I could have done maybe some in Oklahoma City, maybe some in Lawton. I mean, I probably could have done more in Oklahoma. Yeah. But to really grow it, I would have gone like I did with iMart, gone out of state and around, Kansas, Missouri, Texas, all around.
So then you think to yourself, what are my other interests? What businesses can I get into? And you've got built up a great friend base, mutual friends or business clients or whatever it is, and they're when the great thing is that when you're successful and people know you have money, they come to you with opportunities regardless of how bad those opportunities
you're right,
are.
Mike. It's funny because before Shark Tank came on, that show, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, I'm always getting pitched ideas. And sometimes I go, that's a good idea. We'll do that. And so now that Shark Tank's on, I can just say, I get Shark Tanked a lot.
Not interested.
Yeah, I get Shark Tanked a lot. Well, you know what I mean? So everybody wants, to run their idea by. They either want you to coach them up on it, give them money for it, and sometimes it's a good idea. That's how I got into a couple of my businesses that I do.
So tell me about, what was that first business idea that you think, I'm going to get into that, and is it still around?
Yeah. Oh yeah. An auto auction.
Okay.
You might say an auto auction. What? How in the world?
Totally different from glasses, right?
I'm totally different, One of the things I'm a big proponent on when I talk to entrepreneurs or business owners is advertising. It's the in a car, it's your gas pedal, right? You want to go faster. You can sit there in a brand new car and go, why am I not going anywhere? You got to turn it on and push the gas pedal. Well, I can't afford gas. Like, you should have bought the car, or that should have been part of your budget of buying the car, right? So anyway, I advertised a lot, and a lot of the companies, if they said, hey, if you spend this much with me, we'll take you on this fabulous trip. It was kind of the junket trips, And so I'd be like, heck yeah, I want to go to Germany. Heck yeah, Argentina sounds awesome. Hawaii, why not? Let's go. So there was all these fabulous trips, and I would go with about 25 other business people and their significant others. So about 50 of us on the trips would go. And these, car guys, dealers, advertise a lot. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like can't turn on TV without seeing a car ad.
Every billboard or wherever it is.
Right.
Every opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
And so about half the guys on the trip would be car guys. Well, you vacation with people. You're not talking business. You're just relaxed, and you're sitting around a pool in Hawaii having a, drink with a little umbrella in it, talking about who are you, what do you do, and, the life. And so I got to be friends with these guys. And then on one trip, so some of the trips weren't like real fabulous. So they would send some of their workers. In other words, they have a contest, and then maybe whoever sold the most cars, that kind of thing, they'd send them out. And on one trip, I remember I was talking to a guy and said, hey, man, I got all these great relationships. I wonder if there's any way I could do a business to, and have that. I've got a lot of currency, with these car guys. And there was a couple of ideas, in the car industry. And he goes, really an auto auction would be, and I go, what's that?
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, I own an auto auction, and I make the calls, to the guys whose names are on the building, and they take my calls, and they say, okay, we're going to try you, but you better perform.
Right.
Everybody always wants to
you're going to sell.
Everybody always says, oh, it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
It's just business.
It's just business. Yeah.
Like the guy, nothing personal, it's just business.
Just business, yeah.
It's not. It's all personal, forget that.
Right.
The personal, it's not all personal. I mean, it's both. But that plays a part. I mean, I got 100%. The golden look. Yeah. And the golden look is all you can ask for in business, and that's the opportunity to try me. So they'd send some cars, and then it's up to us to make sure we have the buyers there to bid on them, to buy them. And sure enough, we just grew that rascal up. It's now called Z66 Auto Auction. Okay. And they say most weeks we're the largest in Oklahoma and maybe in 4-state regions. So we've really grown quite a bit.
That's awesome.
And it's a fabulous business model, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have like 7 cars being sold at the same time.
Right.
And it is electric in there. And it took me about 6 months before I could actually understand what they're saying, sold. You'd be like, what just happened?
What did I just buy?
What did I keep your hand down, Robert? What you So it was a lot of fun, still is a lot of fun. And we get a lot of cool cars, and there's a lot of interesting people. Those are all, all car dealers are an interesting group of men, good guys, hard workers, and all kind of entrepreneurs in mind. And they just they customer service. They just want to be taken care of. I mean, we don't own any of the cars. We charge a little bit to the buyer, we charge a little bit to the seller, and then we do all the paperwork in between. And so it looks kind of like a tag agency when you walk in the office part of it. And then we have a big garage of 7 lanes selling 7 cars. And we'll sell whatever. The last Friday of every month, we do a specialty sale. We'll sell motorcycles and RVs and boats and utility vehicles. I mean, you bring it, we'll sell it.
So that's just kind of evolved as its business has grown from that one, like I said, that idea. And now you're like,
exactly. So you just
see
kind
the
of went with
business model and it works. And why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's not rocket science.
Right. Yeah.
So we have big competition, but it breaks down to relationships. And there's 4 areas that you get the cars, and one of them is that dealer trade-in. And so having the relationship with those dealers from way back when, and keeping them up and being friends with them, really. And being able to, if there is a problem, when things go great in a business, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's how you handle the problems, how you handle the deal that went wrong, and to make sure you have that love bucket filled up a little bit, that favor bucket, so that you can call up and say, oopsie.
Yeah.
You know, but we're going to do what we can.
Right.
You know, those are dealing with heat, as we call it in the industry, is you know, always an issue, because it seems like someone's always mad. Someone's buying or selling, and someone got
right.
Anyway, someone's upside down.
Someone's going to be upset, right? When you deal with that many people, someone is going to be upset.
Yeah. And you got 1,000 guys and they're buying cars, you know. And, you know, a couple hundred selling them. I mean, but it's good. I've got a great general manager. And one of the things too, I want to also give advice to for entrepreneurs out there. If you've got a great general manager, you know, you might let them do some sweat equity, some golden handcuffs to keep them in. Give them a little piece of the business, in other words, because then they feel the ownership. One of my businesses, I had one of my brothers running it, and he worked up, and then he ended up owning 10% of the business. Yeah. And I said, "How does that feel, Philip?" And he goes, "Man, it's awesome, but I'm making some changes." I go, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Yeah." We'll go over that business second, but I'd call on doctors, and I was taking in lunches that were $100. Yeah. Really nice lunches. Go to, I don't know, wherever he was going to do that, you know. And he goes, "You know what? $50 worth of pizza is going to get the same thing done, you know." And I go, "Well, why are you changing?" He goes, "Well, out of that $100, $10 is mine." All this time, you know,
it's so my money.
It's so easy to spend my money. So easy to spend somebody else's money, you know. Definitely. But when they get it towards their money, so that's a move. So you know, when I introduced Monty, my general manager, I introduced him as my partner, you know. And so great guy, and he runs that, and one less thing I don't have to worry about. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, that's transitioned perfectly then into that business that you have with your brother. It sounds like you're calling on doctors' offices.
Yeah, there's sleep centers and diagnostic sleep centers and DME companies. A DME is a durable medical equipment company. Okay. So I had a buddy of mine who actually I used to make radio commercials with. He moves to Dallas, and he gets gathered up by this group that wanted to have him run their sleep centers. And they said, "We need to expand this. We're doing so well. We want to go to Tulsa. Do you know anybody in Tulsa?" He goes, "I know the guy in Tulsa." So he calls me up, comes into Tulsa. We do dinner. And he pitches this deal to me and says, "Hey, man, let's combine and do these sleep centers." So I went down to Dallas. I checked them out. I kind of went through all my due diligence. And so I decided to do it. Okay. So we opened up Dr. Z's Sleep Center. Yeah. Get it? Yeah. And so people will come in when you need at least 6 hours of sleep. We put 24 electrodes on them. Gotcha. And then we do a sleep study. Most of the people have, if they're having problems, it's sleep apnea. Some can be restless legs. Some can be, there's a number of things. Yeah. But anyway, so once we did that, then we started opening up sleep centers. And we got up to about 6 different sleep centers around Northeast Oklahoma. And then we had some changes in healthcare. They called it Obamacare. That's not the official name, but it's kind of the name. Yeah. And it really kind of neutered that business some. And so we said, well, we're not making as much money. And then we thought, well, we're seeing all these people, and then we're sitting to go get a CPAP machine. Right. Why don't we start getting in the CPAP business? You know, that's another thing that I advise people, vertically integrate. Yeah. You know, you've already got the people captured up here. We can't force them to go to our DME company, but we can sure offer that as a suggestion. And of course, a lot of them do because they've got to know us and trust us. So then we opened up A to Z Medical, and a couple other DME companies. I actually bought a couple because it's hard sometimes to get into insurance networks. Okay. And so if this company B, it already has an insurance contract with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and you want to contract the Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and you buy that company, and then you're already, grandfathered into having it, right? Yeah. So we have A to Z Medical, Dr. Z Sleep Center, and we contract out. We have some of our own freestanding. So, that's, and then my brother Philip runs what I call all the sleep umbrellas. Yeah.
That's not just it though, is there? There's more.
Oh yeah. No, there's more. Yeah, there's more. The real passion, the thing that I kind of enjoy the most, someone said, well, what if you just go spend the day doing one of your businesses, what would it be? It'd be I have a thoroughbred horse industry or horse business. Okay. So I have a ranch just outside of Tulsa. It's called the Rockin' Z Ranch. Yeah. And I breed and race thoroughbreds.
Nice.
I've raised and raced a couple of champions, and it's just a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
The question I get asked the most is, have you been to Derby yet? No, but I've been close with 2 horses.
Okay.
Z Rockstar and Rowdy the Warrior were almost there. So close to making it into the Kentucky Derby. But I've won some big races around the country. I've got a great team, and so that's then buy, sell horses, and then my passion is to run them, and I love the horse racing. I love the idea. When I was a little boy, I had a bucket list in my mind of things that I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of the show The Bonanza and Gunsmoke and Lone Ranger, and they all kind of dealt with horses and horse ranches, right? And that kind of setting. And I thought to myself, man, when I make it one of these days, I'm going to get a horse ranch. That's just that means I made it in my mind back then as a
like
little
that
boy.
new Yellowstone TV show, right?
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. So at one point I thought, well, hey, now I can do that dream. I can get my horse ranch. I can get some horses. And I thought, well, what kind of horses am I going to get? I get, Clydesdales. I can get little ponies. I can get, Arabians. I mean, I can get whatever. And I thought, ooh, thoroughbreds. Because see, thoroughbreds give me the opportunity to do what every man wants. And that is somebody else to pay for your hobby.
Right. Yes. 100%.
I had one of my doctors that was always doing these bass fishing tournaments. He goes, hey, you sponsor me? And I go, sponsor you?
To go fish? No way.
Yeah. I'll put your name on my boat. I'll put your name on my shirt. Everybody will see it. And I'm like, yeah, everybody's going to see it. Okay. Of course, I sponsored him because he's one of my doctors and one of my best friends.
Yeah.
But that's my point is that, it's like you want somebody else to pay for it.
Right.
And I also love the fact that no matter what the horse looks like, if they're the fastest and they've got the biggest heart and they want to win, they win.
Yeah.
Like some of these horse shows, it's all political and who hasn't won lately and why is that horse or that dog or whatever prettier than that one? And it's just kind of silliness, Yeah. So I thought
there's a clear winner in a race, isn't there?
Bingo. There's a clear winner, and it could be the shortest little one out there. It could be you can line him up and go, ooh, that's the prettiest one, and he runs last, or whatever, And so I love the competition. When I was younger, I used to race pigeons.
Yeah.
So you're from Europe.
I'm from the UK. Yeah, I know that stuff. Yeah.
I raised pigeons, and it was funny whenever I transitioned. I mean, obviously I didn't have pigeons there for a while, but I loved it. It was fascinating, trying to take 2 animals and make a better animal. The science of that and the language is almost universal throughout the industry, trying to take 2 cows and make a better cow, trying to take 2 horses and make a better horse. And so it was funny that when I went to some breeders' conferences in Kentucky when I first got started. I just wanted to soak up. I wanted to learn. And the language they use, I thought, oh my gosh, that's the same language we used in pigeon racing. That's a whole other podcast there. There's people out there going, that's not a thing.
No, it's a thing. It's a legit thing. Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So clearly there's a huge passion for animals that comes from, back to that carnival you threw at your own house to
my wildcat.
From the wildcat to thoroughbred racehorses. And obviously you've traveled around the world and seen the animals, and we've got some beautiful heads in the office wall as well that you've hunted and killed as well. So where, I guess, does that passion start? And then I guess what has been some of your favorite trips to see animals and stuff like that?
We've got a couple more businesses. We'll have to circle back on that. Yeah. So before, just a little teaser there for your audience. I went to South Africa with a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He was like a spiritual son. And when he was turning 30, I said, hey, within reason, what do you want? And he goes, I want to shoot and kill the most dangerous animal in the world. I'm like, okay, that sounds like
within reason. You did hear that, right?
And he was kind of a traveling evangelist, and so he had some favors with people around the world that had these big hunting preserves and hunting things. And so he said, hey, well, my friend said they'll give me a deal on do you want to guess what the animal that kills the most hunters in the world? I guess that's how you define the most dangerous.
Okay. Not the most animals, but the most hunters in the world. I mean, naturally everyone would say a lion, but it's probably not a lion.
It's not a lion.
Hippo.
Hippo's a good guess. It's a kind of hippo-esque.
Okay.
But it's a Cape buffalo.
Okay.
And they are, they're mean. So anyway, they said that when the old bulls get about done, the herd will kick them out, and then they don't have maybe a year left to die. And those are the best ones to get because they're by themselves. If you try to kill one with the herd there,
you're in trouble.
You're in slight amount of trouble.
Yeah.
So we went to South Africa. And that's some of the mounts you see up here.
Yeah.
The kudu, the wildebeest, the Gemsbok, the water buck. Anyway, so we went there, and it was fast. It was so much fun. It was really a 5-star place, and a Zulu hunting preserve in South Africa, and we had just a blast. And it was so fun, and it was all business, but it was fun. I mean, they had the best food. I mean, they campfire at night and the stories, and we'd be in the truck. You're sitting up high, these special hunting trucks, and they'd be driving around. They had 90,000 acre preserve that they owned and maintained, and they'd stop and they'd go. And the main guide would lean over and go, "Oh my God, that is a wonderful specimen. Look over there." We'd have our binoculars, and I go, "What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, that is a whatever, know." Yeah. And I'm looking at it going, I don't know. And he goes, and then I'd go, "How much is that? How much is that to shoot it?" Right? Yeah. He goes, "Oh, that one's so spectacular. I don't know we've seen one that good before. That's approximately $3,500 US, of course." And I'd be sitting there looking at, I'd be looking at it now and go, "Yeah, I'm not feeling that. Let's keep going." Yeah. So it was the game. They'd drive you around all day long, trying to upsell you to shoot an animal. It was really fun. I enjoyed it,
Right.
And they're good guys. I mean, but that was a fun place. And people have sometimes mixed emotions about hunting, but we get rid of all the predators out there, and there's a little place not too far from here where it's illegal to hunt the deer, and they've just overpopulated this region about about an hour east of here, and now the deer are just almost stunted in their growth. They need to have better management of the animals, and if you take all the predators away and you take the natural ecosystem, then we need to step in and do the right thing.
Right.
But anyway, that's a whole
people don't get that, do they?
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
That is definitely a whole other podcast for sure.
That's right.
Circling back then to the other businesses then. So, I mean, how many do you actually have?
That's a good question. We'll count them here in a second. And then I have another business, which is really kind of fun. I had a guy Shark Tank me. Said, "Hey, let's do an online business school. Let's mentor millions."
Gotcha.
Because I have a group of about half a dozen to 10 guys that are 20 years younger than me or so that I mentor in some capacity or another. Their business life, call me up, give them time. They have access into my life to do lunches, to come over here, sit out in my backyard and hang out and to talk about what's going on in their business or their life. And your time's limited. I've had to say no to some people. It's crazy, but sometimes a young man will come up to you and say, "Hey, I'd like to take you to lunch and pick your brain." And instead of saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's get together," and then walk away, I just look at them and say, No, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. But so my friend approached me and said, "Listen, let's do this online business mentoring. Let's find great business people, successful ones." Yeah. But also that have a good story or fun on air or, it's like that teacher in high school. You had that one teacher that was really awesome, even though you didn't like whatever they were teaching, but they were just so entertaining and they did such a great job. And
you had respect for them that you learned.
Right. You look forward to that class. Yeah. So that's what we did. We rounded up some really neat guys. The guy that used to run Disney, Robinson, the NBA All-Star guy down in San Antonio. He had a heart for education and had a heart for business. He does Academy Sports, is his entrepreneurship thing that he does. David Robinson, that is the Admiral. So we started that, and then that led to, so it was Thrive, it's called thrive15.com, and they would be in little 15 minutes, little sound bites of 15 minutes, because that's kind of your, most people that's, after 15 minutes are kind of going, I don't know, and so we started that and built that up. And then that led to, we had some guys that would, so it was a monthly subscription, right? Kind of like a Netflix. And then we had some people say, "No, I need more personalized service." So then we started a business coaching deal where we'd have a business coach, teach them how to coach, and then they'd have 10 to 12 clients. We did that. Right. And then that led to a radio show. One of the a radio station changed hands here in Tulsa, and the guy who approached me, because I advertise, if not on all of them, on most of them throughout my career. And they approached me and said, "Hey, this business thing you've got going on with your Thrive thing, can you do a radio show?" And I said, "Absolutely." Yeah. So Clay, the guy that was kind of Shark Tank me, we started a radio show that then led to a podcast, and so now we have about 2,500 podcast in the can, and it's that's kind of fun. So we monetize it like that, and then we had business conferences, and so now about every couple of months we do a big business conference. And of course, this last year and a half, it's been tough. When people have their businesses shut down, it's hard to coach them up on
Keep going.
You can do it. Just try harder. Like, I can't open my business, You're like, sorry.
I can't do anything about that. It's out of my control.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of did a little bit different twist with the podcast over the last year and a half, but the heart of it is how to teach you in easy steps, or in steps you can do, the practical steps of how to start and grow a business.
Gotcha.
Because that's what people need. You learn by either mentorship or mistakes.
Yeah.
And I've done both. Mentorship is so much better.
Yeah, because they've already made the mistake, so they're telling you not to make it.
Yes, because someone made it. You just don't want it to be you. I remember when I got the auto auction business, the guy that I bought it from said, "Well, each mistake's going to be about $1,000. And you'll know never to do that again."
Yeah.
I go, "Well, what are they?" And you go, you'll sort it out. Here's the keys. I'll see you around, Yeah. And sure enough, if it wasn't just spot on, I remember the first mistake that made, here's about $1,000 right on the nut.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that.
He wasn't joking.
He was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What about, and I can't remember if you are in the cannabis industry or not, but if you are, okay,
that's the latest one.
Okay, tell me about that, because there's a lot of people listening that see these businesses everywhere, and when you travel, you don't see as many dispensaries in other states as you do in Oklahoma, and there's a lot of stigma as well around it. If it makes you better, by all means, like, it's your choice, go ahead. And I know family members and non-family members who do and don't like it. I don't care. It's up to you. But it's just interesting that in the state of Oklahoma, it seems like it's really like seems to be the business to be in last year. The last couple of years it's been thriving, and there's dispensaries opening everywhere, as well as I know multiple people on the grow side, and they're doing extremely well. Did you just see that opportunity and think, it makes sense, let's go for it?
Well, we saw it coming. My youngest, Bo, he's mid to late 20s. He Shark Tanked me on it. And first I was like, no, I don't want to, because I grew up, it was wrong, and if it was wrong, I didn't, if it was wrong, if it was illegal, I didn't do it. Those are the potheads over there, behind the buildings over there with that weird smoke billowing from them. Stay away from them. I was like, I had no desire, had no knowledge of it. I thought, let me research it.
Yeah.
Okay, you've Shark Tanked me, you've made your pitch, I get it. Now let me go do my homework.
Yeah.
And the more homework I did on it, I thought, well, it's almost a crime that hasn't been legalized. And I dug into it. You look at the big pharma, you look at tobacco, and you look at alcohol, and they have fought like heck to keep this stuff illegal, right?
For a reason.
Back in the day in the 1800s, big tobacco was the grill in the room, and they made sure that it was illegal back then. Yeah. And here we are, opioids. I couldn't tell you how many people they're killing a year. We could probably look it up.
Yeah.
Alcohol. Oh my goodness. Where to start there? And tobacco with cancers and, just. Oof.
Yeah.
And the one thing about marijuana that's interesting is that no matter how much you take in a given day, you're never going to kill yourself. Right? Mm-hmm. You may fall off a ladder if you're up on a ladder, but it's not, the drug is not going to actually kill you. You can take enough pills, you can take enough alcohol in a given day, and you'll kill yourself. Yeah. Alcohol poisoning and opioids. How many people are this fentanyl and all this stuff. So the more I researched it, and the more I kind of became at ease with it. And I thought, well, this is going to be a thing. It's legal now in the state of Oklahoma and the capacities that it is. And so, and you're right, the opportunities and the business side of it kind of kicked in a little bit.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, green light, let's go for it.
Yeah,
so we opened Dr. Z's Leaf. We have 2 dispensaries here in Tulsa. They're very high end. They're very, very nice. Looks like you're in a Las Vegas dispensary or California and LA dispensary. They're very, very nice and clean. We started off the guys all wearing, scrubs and kind of being professional because it's a medical license to get it right now. We started to grow into processing, so we're vertically integrated and off and running. Now, what's interesting is that Oklahoma followed the Oregon plan.
Okay.
And the Oregon plan is that if you got the money, honey, you get the license.
Right.
So in Oklahoma, we have 9,000 grow licenses. You can't maintain that because you can't export the product yet. It can't cross state lines legally, and you can't import it also. So all the marijuana that's sold in Oklahoma has to be produced in Oklahoma. And we are going to have a lot of product, and it's going to be unfortunate. And every corner or every other corner has a dispensaries, and that's unsustainable. And so even though some people are doing good, early adapters, early ones in, some people are they're folding their tents. It's just the way that it is business. And I tell someone has asked me the other day about the cannabis business, and I said, well, the way I look at it, there was really two kinds of people in the cannabis business. There was the boomers and the Sooners. And they're like, what?
What are you talking about?
The boomers are the one that lined up when they fired off the cannon. That's when they took off. That's what I am. That's what I am, And the Sooners are the ones that have been doing this a long time. They stuck across the line and carved out a little piece of property. And the nice thing about it is that Bo knew some guys and brought in some experts in how to grow it, because there's this whole science behind it. It's fascinating. I just thought, heck, it's a plant. Water and feed, put light and water on it. But it's a lot more than that to get the quality that really separates you from everybody else. So we had that part of it, and then my business acumen, and so that's how we've been able to be successful and make money and hold the line, because it's getting ready to.
It has to at some point, doesn't it?
It has to. Yes, it has to. I mean, Oregon has 1,000 grow licenses, and last year, according to their data, they had to burn 1 million pounds. In other words, they had overproduced that much. And how much? And how much?
And we have a lot of land.
How much of it went out of Oregon, and how much of it ended up somewhere else? I mean, we don't know. But in Oklahoma, and they refer to October as Croptober. Have you heard that term before?
I haven't, no.
Croptober, because all the outside grows, and there's a lot of them. If people have an acre or two, heck, plant some marijuana. They all harvest in October, because when the freeze would kill everything, so you want to be safe and harvest. So you have this big Croptober, as they call it, and they're getting ready to just flood the industry, in November-ish, November, December, it gets flooded. And, how many years can we survive that cycle of, the prices continue to go down? At some point, people just go, this isn't worth it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, I'm glad you explained that, because I don't think I've had someone on the podcast before that has a store. I don't think they have the grow side as well. But I mean, they were a Sooner, for example. They were not someone they were not, but yeah, they were awesome, and they were a friend as well. So, but they come from like you said, they were a Sooner, and Clint, his name is, who's a professional skateboarder. So that's his culture, and he swears by it and sworn by it for a long time. But yeah, it's a growing business, right?
Yeah, and we have a lot of great stories on our website. If you go to our website, you can see some of them. We videotaped them. This one lady, she came in and through a process, she was able to get off her opioids. She was in chronic pain, and we've helped her get off her opioids, which, opioids are horrible. They cause so many bad side effects, and other than they're very addictive, and then all the side effects they cause, and it's just, people don't want to take them, and yet when you have chronic pain, sometimes it's the only thing you can do. And so we've had a lot of great stories on that. Of course, you've got a lot of people that just wanting to relax, go to sleep better at night. And so there's different. I've learned that there's different types, and they have different purposes, if you will. And so it's a lot more in depth than I thought it was going to be. I just thought it was like, put a plant a plant, water it, put a light on it, and chop it off and sell it. But there's a lot more to it than that.
No doubt. And it's like I said, it's clearly. I mean, I know a lot of people who are now sleeping better. They don't have anxiety anymore, and it's working. It's just fighting that stigma, right? That when you grew up, it's like, no, drugs are bad. Say no to drugs, right?
It's the same thing you probably did after Prohibition, after alcohol became legal. I'm sure,
no doubt,
because all the gin joints and all the speakeasies and all that. It was a very secretive thing that how people have the little. I love going to sometimes and going and seeing an old house.
Yeah.
And then you find this kind of compartment there, and you're like, what the heck is this? We're hiding dead bodies in here. What's going on? And the real estate agent go, no, that's where they hid their alcohol. And a lot of those old homes built in the 20s and whatnot. Right. And I've lived in some of those in years past. They have this little room, this little place. But so I feel like it's like that. And I know as generations go on that the stigma will go off less and less and less, and people understand that it has a medical purpose. And really, I'm hopeful that it can replace a lot of the opioid addictions, a lot of the opioid stuff, and even alcoholism, and tobacco. I mean, but we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. Timing's everything, like I said earlier, right?
Right.
I mentioned it, we're not going to get to everything, and I think the best way to do that is I probably need to come back and do a part 2 because there's so much to get to. But I got a shout out to John Snyder for putting us together, owner of the Mayo Hotel, who was on a previous podcast. And when I asked him yesterday, what do I need to ask Dr. Z? And he said, just ask him what his experience was when he stayed at the Mayo. So what was it like for you when you're living, because you lived at the Mayo, right?
I lived at the Mayo.
And a lot of people don't know there's so many apartments there. People just think it's a hotel.
Yeah, I think there's about 100 hotel rooms, about 100 apartments there. And it was an experience for me. Here I am. I'm 52 years old when I moved in there. Yeah. And it's the first time in my life I'd ever lived alone. Now, that's a crazy statement.
Right.
So I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
And I hope that noise isn't too loud on the podcast.
Someone's moving something upstairs.
Yeah, no,
right?
Well, that's okay. Yeah. They're putting in a new air conditioning furnace unit, so that's part of the house. I bet that's what it is. It was fabulous. It was fun. I mean, it was kind of funny when I moved in. Some of the tenants that were already there, I knew already. I didn't know they lived there, but I knew them. I'm like, hey. But it was kind of surreal. It was you're living in this posh, swanky hotel, and you have all the amenities of that. Room service and dry cleaning service, and valet parking, and all these kind of things that are unique to a hotel, and you have them. I had a really cool room. It was a 2-story room, and it looked out over the Arkansas River, and it was charming. It was a lot of fun, and. It's one of those things where I'm glad I did it, but I'm so used to living in a home and having some space,
right?
And so I was glad it was a good season. And one I'd recommend to anybody that's needing a place to live for a while, because everything's kind of it's all right there. There's a workout room. You have a little gym in there. You have
Starbucks downstairs.
Yeah. You have a little coffee shop and a restaurant downstairs, and all the people there are just very kind and very nice. And I got to meet a lot of great people like John Snyder. We got to be buddies. Yeah. And it was charming. They have a rooftop bar up on the top, and it was funny. John was telling me a story that U2 in their latest concert tour, they actually stayed there. So I got to see the guys around they'd be there. I'd get selfies with them. I mean, it was kind of crazy, but they were practicing at the BOK Center. To start their tours, and they did the first production there in Tulsa, and they kicked off around the world. And they said that they stayed there for one reason. You want to guess what that reason is?
I mean, I know it's close to the BOK. I assume it's not that.
It's close to the BOK, but that had nothing really to do with it.
Right.
It was because Elvis Presley would stay there when he would come to Tulsa. The few times he came to Tulsa to perform, he chose the Mayo to stay. And that rooftop bar, that was actually a room. It was the penthouse room, and that's where he would stay.
Interesting.
It was interesting. I guess Bono's a big Elvis fan, I guess.
Sure.
And I didn't really talk to him about it. But,
but he was there. That's great.
Yeah. So you have things like that are kind of cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk out the front door, and there's a big crowd of people with cameras and signs, and you're kind of going...
It's not for me.
Yeah, it's not me. They're not. My name wasn't on the side. It was all U2 stuff and this and that, and seeing the guys come and go, and
that's awesome.
Just try to be normal guys as much as
not
people
trying to fangirl out a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess last thing then, obviously, your mind's always turning. You got so many businesses going, which I know we didn't get to a lot, but I'd love to come back and push on those a bit more as well at a different date, but. What are you into right now? What's kind of piquing your interest at the moment? What are you Googling? What are you looking at? Just kind of like this current moment in time.
Oh, that's a great question. what am I really thinking about? I'm kind of I kind of scaled back my horse business quite a bit. And now I'm kind of getting reinvigorated into that. So now I'm kind of building the herd back up, as they say.
Yeah.
So that's been something that's been taking some of my time. As far as business ideas go, maybe the next podcast I'll tell you about some great business ideas I've got cooking that I'm looking forward to doing.
Yeah.
You just always trying to build a better mousetrap too. That's one of the things that I do. You always have to look through that lens when you're in your own business. How does it look? How does it smell? How does it sound? Go through your five senses. And really keep trying to make a better mousetrap. Technology changes, and you got to compete against it. And so. The old internet, the old www internet, thanks Al Gore, really changed things in business in general. And so I think that's one of the things that you do. You never want to slip. You want to inspect what you expect, and just always kind of be fine tuning and looking at things. So
we'll have to touch on those in the next podcast then. Thanks so much for having me at the house. This is awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. We're almost at an hour, and I know it goes by really fast. It goes by super fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, really appreciate you for having me over and to talk about some of the businesses. People listening probably, if they're from Tulsa, they already know most of the businesses that you have. But I'm sure there's little nuggets in here that people can take away. Just when you're young, right, working more, unless you're unhappy, then obviously happiness is paramount, but you have the option to work more. There's plenty of mentors out there. Find a mentor. If you like horses, reach out because you know what to do with the horses. And if you want a car, same thing too. So thanks so much. For everyone listening, I'll post the links to all of Dr. Zoellner's podcasts. Sorry, not podcasts. Businesses, websites, all the rest of it in the description, so you can go click on those. And thanks so much. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.